Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddykat, and you can find me on Twitter at Roddykat. You can find me at News on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram.
With Columbia down the way.
And the sound effects you've heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, @1agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram.
What's up, everybody? Co-hosting from the borough of Kings.
Brooklyn be the place where I serve the thing.
And you can find this here podcast on your Coastal the Podcast Network, that's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You could also find us. Interesting. You can also find us on your podcast personal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal the Podcast Network's SoundCloud page.
Make sure to hit like and subscribe and to leave us all the 5-star positive reviews.
Indeed. What's up, Benji? How's it going tonight? Hope you're doing well.
How you doing?
You could also find us recording every Thursday night, 9:30-ish p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the YouTube channel of The Kliq Nation. That's youtube.com/The Kliq Nation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit the notification button so that you know when we are on live.
So, folks, we don't have there's no Star Trek, there's no Star Wars, there's no movie protocol or nothing. It's just us and these comics as we're gonna breeze through really quickly.
But we are teasing movie protocol for next week.
Wait, oh, that's right.
We have movie protocol next week. We will speak in detail about that later.
So
I do have something very small for Toy Corner, so when that rolls around at the end of the show, we'll talk about that.
So you know what's funny about that, real quick, and we'll talk about it later. I honestly thought this week I thought I was like late because I was like, wait, is that this week? And then I looked at my ticket. I was like, oh no, that's okay. And then I completely blanked right after that. But like I said, we will get to that after a while. But let's go ahead and get into these comic books real quick since we're running late. With Star Trek number 7.
Star Trek number 7 is written by I'm stalling here, folks, because I'm pulling up my copy of Star Trek number 7.
I mean, I got it.
What's that?
I said I got
well,
it.
no, but I also need to refresh my memory about how this issue starts, because as during our pre-show meeting, Roddykat and I were talking about what to start with, and I told him that if there's one minor criticism I have for this issue is that there's a lot of talky talk at the beginning of the issue, and I kind of glazed over it. So this issue, number 7, is written by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing, with art by Mike Feehan, colors by Lee Luffridge, and letters by Clayton Cowell. So as I said, we have an interesting set of reunions at the beginning of the issue that leads to a lot of talky and catching up on things. And it's at none other than a locale we're familiar with, Deep Space Nine. And you know, the story does center around some relationships we are familiar with that are related to the events that occurred during the Deep Space Nine show. So I will hand it off to Roddykat because he knows a lot of this better than I. But I will say that there were a few exchanges in this book that made me laugh out loud. One was something I kind of read. A sequence I read in Armin Shimmerman's voice, rest in peace, about redheads and Quark, and also at the end, seeing the melded crews of these various versions of Star Trek come together and execute some space combat was kind of fun. I thought that was very well laid out and drawn. And of course, there's a little bit of Star Trek at the end. I mean, I apologize, Star Wars at the end. Just a little Admiral Akbar. And I'll hand it off to Roddykat because I definitely skirted many of the details which he may very well fill in.
Yeah, there was really not much else to say. I'll say you pretty much said the majority of it. Although, yes, there was a lot of chatter in this episode, but I kind of like that stuff because let's face it, in a lot of DS9, there was a whole lot of episodes where there was just a lot of talking and whatnot, and we're probably going to be leading into another one based on what happens at the end of this, because it wouldn't be as I say in my notes, it wouldn't be Star Trek if there wasn't a trial. Somebody doesn't go on some sort of trial some kind of way. But also this is if you're watching the video version, you will see the cover of the issue, and at the top there is a banner that is signaling the upcoming event, which we will have a little bit more news about and later on in the news section. Which I guess it had been thought about previous to this. I shouldn't be surprised of what this event would entail. So, but I guess wasn't really paying that close, or maybe I was paying too close attention and didn't really think about it that closely. But nevertheless, yes, it was a nice, good old DS9 episode, including some baseball, including the entrance of a new crew member who is from another side of Star Trek, by the way, that I have not actually seen, but I know, well, since they put the reference in there, and I think I had heard about this, heard of this character. I know about it from that, but I've never seen any part of the show. So, and I won't spoil what or where this or who the character is. But yes, the family reunion.
That's not a creation for the book. That's actually a creation from outside the book. Okay,
that is the more recent Star Trek show.
Gotcha.
Character.
Gotcha.
Yes. So, and I think I may have been slightly spoiled on the fact that they were going to be in this, because I feel like I've seen some chatter on social media about this happening, but I can't remember. It's been a weird long week. So, hence the reason why we don't have a whole lot of news either. Anyway, but that's pretty much it. Yeah, something's apparently going down on Cardassia, and as Agent 70s said, there was definitely a little bit of Star Wars to go in your Star Trek in this issue. Yep. All in all, it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. There was actually another ship that I had to tell my wife about, because it is named after a language while she doesn't speak it, is probably familiar with. So I was like, oh, that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if you're familiar with the some of the languages spoken in the midst of Black Panther, the Black Panther movies, you also would be familiar with this language.
Mm-hmm. And apparently, there was like there's one thing that threw me off about it, and this is the last thing I'll say. Apparently, they still have charcuterie in the 24th, 25th, whatever century this is. So I was like, wait, really? So anyway, but that's pretty much it. I enjoyed it this week as a potential Kliq of the week for myself. And apparently someone else on well, that's not with us tonight, but on our panel.
Right, one of our panelists, correct.
But yeah, we can move on to rapid fire now, though.
We're gonna rapid fire this because guess what, folks? It's one of the few times I read more books than Roddykat.
I ain't got time to breathe.
All right. So, do you want to start since you have fewer books this time, like one of the few times?
Nope, go ahead, because it'll give me a chance to type all the stuff in.
Got it. All right. First up is Killadelphia number 30, and I am pulling up my copy right now. I should have the credits queued up. The story is written by Rodney Barnes, layouts and inks by Jason Sean Alexander, pencils by Herman Aramuspe, background ink assists by Robert Melendrez, colors by Lee Luffridge, and letters by Marshall Dillon. So guess what, folks? Killadelphia number 30 is not, I repeat, is not the final issue in this series. That's what it felt like it was going to be at the end of issue number 29. And it's teased during this issue that we very well might be reaching the culmination of the story. But the end of the story is a gigantic swerve. I don't know if I am so disconnected from social media that I did not see any sort of hint of this being teased anywhere or spoiled for me anywhere. I guess, that's what happens when you're just a little too busy during the day and you consciously stay away from it. Ultimately, though, this was a very well done cliffhanger ending that left me, Roddykat is witness. I was reading this just before we started our pre-show meeting and our production meeting, and he heard me, just exclaim out loud, like, shout out to Aunt May. Seriously. So that was me at the end of this, and it was very much an interesting read. So there's another arc of Killadelphia coming. It's just going to come in a few months. So this is the end of the current arc, and that has been the trend with this book, that it goes on a bit of a hiatus in order to catch up. So Killadelphia number 30, I think it's still going to be worthwhile. This is definitely a big swerve, though. So next up is Captain America: Symbol of Truth number 12. I'm not going to spoil too much of this because I know that Roddykat will eventually get to this. It's written by Tochi Onyebuchi with art by R.B. Silva, colors by Jesus Abertov, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So we have the Captains America and their respective love interests, namely Misty Knight and Sharon Carter, in Alaska, basically following the steps of this story. Meanwhile, we have Bucky playing the heavy with Ian Rogers, his captive. There's a lot of Dimension Z stuff going on here, and I'm uncomfortable with it because I just don't see how they're always traveling back and forth. I thought that Dimension Z had been locked off or locked away, but I guess this is comics after all. People figure out a way. Just like life figures out a way, people figure out a way in comics to traverse dimensions. So that's the weird part to me, and that's what makes it a little hard to read, but ultimately I'm going to stick with it just to keep, just to see where this group of writers, namely Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing and Tochi Onyebuchi, are taking these two captains. Next up is Daredevil number 10. It is the 10th issue in this Red Fist saga story. It's written by Chip Zdarsky, art by Marco Cacchetto, colors by Matthew Wilson. Letters are by VC's Clayton Cowles. This is close to being a Kliq of the week, solely on the strength of the sequence between Daredevil and Spider-Man in this issue. So, like a lot of writers, Zdarsky seems to have been playing a very long game of taking Matthew Murdock down a very dark path. A lot of writers have done it with Daredevil. It's a natural character to do it with, right? So we are essentially at the we may very well be at the culmination of his dark path, because the heroes have come to intervene and they are not necessarily successful. So that's where we find ourselves at the end of this issue. But ultimately, I think that the strength of this, of just this issue, is the Daredevil and Spider-Man sequence, and it is phenomenal. Next up is Doctor Strange number 2. This is the latest issue. This is the latest issue in our in the, I guess, the Doctor Strange Renaissance. Now that he is back from the dead, spoiler alert. This book is written by Jed MacKay with art by Pasquale Ferry, and that is a strong suit. Colors are by Matt Hollingsworth, and VC's Corey Pettit is the letterer. Again, this is a book that Roddykat is probably going to read. I will not spoil too much. I will say that one, it was nice that the people that Doctor Strange and Clea help are named as Korean people. They even give them Korean last names. There is a quickie guest appearance by Moon Knight. He may very well continue to make a guest appearance in this little mini arc, but we find that a long-time villain in the Doctor Strange limited but very powerful rogues gallery seems to be beset by other possibly more powerful forces. And that leads to where this issue ends and a possibly bigger threat looms. And you got to love how I left so much out. But there is a really interesting subplot that is developed here when it comes to the, let's say, relationship and its I guess ups and downs, how it, some of its inner workings between Clea and Stephen Strange. So, some of that is, some groundwork is laid in this issue for that moving forward. It'll be interesting to see how that develops. But as I said, one of the strong points of this issue is, in fact, the art by Pasquale Ferry. It's really, really well done. Next up is Invincible Iron Man number 5. Wow. See, I've been I've been a little inconsistent with my reading of Invincible Iron Man, but I do appreciate that this issue really does a great job of catching us up on Fei Long and why he is this dangerous. It's written by Jerry Duggan with art by Juan Frigeri, colors by Brian Valenza, and letters again by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. This is definitely something Roddykat is going to read. I will not spoil it. I will say, however, this does a very good job of recapping and explaining why Fei Long is this kind of threat. So it was a very good issue if you've been kind of on and off the X-Men bandwagon, kind of like how I have been, and reading this run on Invincible Iron Man, leading us to Fei Long being not that character from Street Fighter, but instead a character that is proving to be very dangerous to Tony Stark. So if you want to kind of catch up on everything Invincible Iron Man to date, at least in terms of this, story arc, this is the issue you want to read. This is the conclusion of this autobiography of Tony Stark arc. It was really strong. So I definitely think that anyone could pick this up and really get a lot out of it. Next up, Mary Jane and Black Cat number 505. Guess what? It's finally finished. Dark Web is finally finished, folks.
Our long-standing nightmare is finally over.
Dark Web is finished. This is yet another book written by Jed MacKay with art by Vincenzo Caratu, colors by Brian Reber, and letters by VC's Ariana Mar. Guess what, folks? Dark Web has finally come and gone. This issue, I think more so than the previous issue or the issue before that, really sets up why this was even done in the first place. And there is a tease. There's definitely a tease as to what actually happened during that time gap that we learned more about in Amazing Spider-Man last week.
Does it explain that one part of the thing that we still didn't know about from that was all up in here?
Yes,
like
and no.
Her powers? Yeah. Okay.
Yes and no. Like, it doesn't really explain that part. Like I've missed a couple of these issues in between. I kind of skimmed them, so I guess since I know that you've read them, I think,
Right.
so they still haven't really explained that part.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
But
Carry on.
I'm referring to something else, which is kind of one of the big surprises when Amazing came back under Zeb Wells.
Okay.
All right. Again, I'm not spoiling because I figure you're gonna read it at some point. So
Right.
you have to appreciate, folks. I know binge games out there. I am skirting all of the big details because I know that Roddykat is going to be reading this, but I'm doing my best to give people a flavor of what happened. So I try to do that. Next up is Sins of Sinister Dominion #1. This is the finale, folks. I have a couple of books to wrap up my reviews this week that are the finales of certain stories. This is the finale of the Sins of Sinister storyline. Again, the title of this book, this one shot, is Sins of Sinister Dominion #1. I am pulling up the credits now. Give me a moment. Scrolling. Get them doggy scrolling. This is a long book, folks. Get them pages scrolling. Not exactly rawhide. Raw paper. Anyway. Sins of Sinister Dominion #1. This is part 11 of this Deadly Sins storyline. Goodness gracious. It's written by Kieron Gillen, with art by Paco Medina and Lucas Verneck, colors by Brian Valenza, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. I will say this exactly what I said to Roddykat. That Sins of Sinister really served a few purposes. One was to introduce certain characters that had been teased way back during Hoxpox, right? And come up with a reason for their introduction. This entire story basically explains all of these Griffin/hybrid characters that we saw during Hoxpox, right? In those possible futures. That's what Sins of Sinister was about. Also, it does set up the potential early stages of Fall of X. And we know that Fall of X is incoming very soon as the big summer storyline in the pages of the X books, with all the news coming out about the Hellfire Gala and so on and so forth. So this is, I think, going to be the setup, if not the impetus, for at least parts of Fall of X. So we'll leave it at that. Last but not least for me, I'm trying to do my best to stay rapid during rapid fire. I may be doing semi-auto fire, to be honest. Strange Academy Finals #6. Give me a moment to pull up my copy of this book. Again, something I will not spoil because Roddykat is definitely going to read this book. It's written by Scotty Young with art by Humberto Ramos. Colors are by Edgar Delgado, and letters are by VC's Clayton Cowles. And this has been a fairly consistent creative team on this book, and it shows because there are just real flourishes in this book that you can tell come from, you can tell that these characters that they have developed and grown. Some of these moments and the depictions and the writing really comes from a place of warmth and care from these creators, and you can tell it actually jumps off the page. And I really appreciated what they did in this book, this issue. This is definitely a candidate for Click of the Week for me. I actually read a lot of good books this week. This is not one of those weeks where I'm kind of grasping at straws to say, well, this book sucked the least, right? That's not the case this week. The one thing I will say, and I did tell Roddykat this, it's not a spoiler, this seems to be the end for now of this version or this volume of Strange Academy, but they do tease at the end that there may be more to come in upcoming solicitations. So this may not be the end for long for Strange Academy, but this definitely was a very fun read. There are several instances of characters really, coming full circle with some things, and some characters, kind of having great moments. So, Strange Academy Finals number 6 is definitely a candidate for Click of the Week for me, and that is it for my long-winded, semi-automatic fire review.
Yeah, I hear the last couple of pages are significant. Oh, that's probably going to be the next book I end up. So for myself, let's get this going with Clobbering Time number 2 of 5. This is the kind of the pseudo Marvel 2-in-1 of recent, but it looks like it is a consistent story. The story and art is by Steve Scroce. Color artist Brian Valenza. And letters by BC's Joe Sabino. This time, Ben ends up going to Krakoa for, I believe it's a convention, as he says it in the course of this book. He meets up with Logan. He puts his foot in his mouth. He meets up with Logan. They have a couple of, they have some beers, but he ends up getting caught up in an attack on Krakoa by some time traveling tattooed hero worshiper, hero groupie, I would say, that is looking for something, which is going to lead, which, Ben kind of gets a little bit of a little bit more information at the end of this before going into the next book, which is going to be with actually Doctor Strange. And as far as the cover, if you're watching the video version, that's not far off of a thing or two that happens in the book. So that is a thing. It's one of those rare occasions when that's actually the case. But yeah. Next book for myself is Avengers Beyond number 2 of 5. Go with the Winsome Wasp on the cover, written by Derek Landy, penciled by Greg Land. As I like to call him Land and Land, but we're not going to, inks by Jay Lyston, colors by Frank D'Armata, and letters by VC's Corey Pettit. So, I guess after the revelation and fight last issue, the Avengers are pretty much, well, I'm just going to read off my notes. How about this? People are going crazy in New York, but that's nothing new. But
I
also,
resemble that.
Well, that's fine. I knew you would have something to say about it. But in this case, they're getting powers. And again, that's nothing new. But yeah, the Avengers are kind of trying to, keep control of the things and trying to find out what's the cause of it, which apparently one of them did find the cause of it. And all the while, you have things like the Wasp is fighting an old friend of hers, and they're hashing some out at the same time. And and Blade is hunting down the cause of this. And all the while, the Beyonder is pretty much in the background narrating what he pretty much put upon them. All the while, and the teasing of let's say some acolytes of a certain big bad are getting teased to show up here again at the end of this, which seems like they may come into play at the in the next issue. It's been something. I'm still trying to figure out where this is going to go, because they keep talking about this other big bad that's supposedly coming, and but we have yet to see them, just people that work for them. But anyway, next book for me is Wasp number 4 of 4, which is written by Al Ewing with art by Kasia Nye, with Carola Bareilles, color artist KJ Diaz, and letters again by BC's Corey Pettit. So this has been an interesting story. This is an anniversary story for the Wasp, as similarly to what the Ant-Man was for that character. But this is pretty much bringing together the fact that, hey, you got the the original Wasp, and you have the legacy Wasp, and how they are working together without giving too much away. And also you have Jarvis, who is also in the mix, who's Jarvis is always willing to lend a helping hand. But this is a story that kind of goes back to pretty much the creation of the Wasp, in a sense, because there is an old villain that essentially was responsible for creating the Wasp, who apparently has come back into play and was trying to get revenge. But also we have another story that is, kind of tying in the Nadia Van Dyne Wasp at the same time, in which she, in her kind of legacy into this, and she also ends up finding a family member out of all of this. But the thing that ends this story, interestingly enough, is the fact that while it wasn't like an end credit scene, there was definitely a to be continued, because let's just say a long time pest of the Wasp comes into play, or comes in and out of play, that's seemingly going to lead something that looks to be announced at some point. It hasn't been announced yet, but it's going to be announced at some point soon, as the further adventures of Janet Van Dyne. So, and yeah, I'm very curious to see what that's going to be, and what happened, or why that happened, why what happened. Person, I should say. Next up, Gargoyles, number 5. Go. Written by Greg Weisman, illustrated by George Kambadius, colors by Arancia Studios, and letters by Jeff Eckleberry. So the leader of the Gargoyles gets captured by this anti-Gargoyles police unit. And of course, the rest of the crew's like, yeah, we got to go get him out of there. And then there's some humans that they work with that are like, you might not want to do this right now, and this and that other, and things they thought was the case may or may not be the case, or there's something more going on to this than meets the eye. But also in the background of this, a potential gang war. So yeah, that's a thing. Last but not least, pardon me. Here we go. Saturday Morning Adventures, Dungeons and Dragons number 2 of, I believe, 3. Either 3 or 4. I can't remember. Regardless, I'll look at it in a second. Written by David M. Booher, pens and inks by George Kambadius, and colors by Josh Burcham, and letters by Ed Dukeshire. But yeah, this is the continued adventures of the 80s Dungeons and Dragons crew. Of course it does. That's great. I think it's 3 though, because most of those Saturday Morning Adventures have been 3, but I'll find out in a little bit. But regardless, there's some infighting within the group over leadership. All the while, they're still in this other portal that sent them to the Forgotten Realms, or gets further into the Forgotten Realms, and a little bit of trouble that they kind of got into, where they have to depend on Presto to get them out of, who is the magician, who's not a great magician if you don't know much about the 80s Dungeons and Dragons series. It was good. You should go check it out if you have a thing. But it's also a very 80s show, so there is that. If you're a younger sort of folk, if you're of a certain vintage, I should say, you will definitely probably appreciate it a little bit more. And at the end, the one thing you don't do in Dungeons and Dragons happens, unfortunately, and that is the group gets. We shall see what happens with that in the next issue. And that is it for myself. Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs of the week.
So we did get actually we got a full stack this week. One of which I actually I've been very curious to check out more of, as I was talking to Agent 70
Oh, sorry about that. I played that completely by accident.
I'm sure.
It was totally like I hit a key and the key was keyed to that particular sound effect, which Roddykat does not like. I have not played that in a while. So, I get the extra benefit of teasing him a little bit with that.
Sure. So, we got a full stack of Kliqs of the week, including one that I've been intending to check out because I've been kind of curious about this Day of DC stuff. But the first Kliq we have comes from Dirt, which is Star Trek number 7.
No surprise.
Yeah, very much no surprise. And I'm kind of with him. Well, I'm with him in him, but I'm not sure just yet if I'm going to make that my. And from Tim, we got, which is actually a slight surprise to me, but I'm not, I guess maybe I possibly shouldn't be. Green Arrow number 1, which is the new number 1 of the Dawn of DC stuff. And I think there might be another one now that I think about it, because I've been looking into that stuff in the last week and been trying to catch up on some of that DC stuff, including like the that last event. And whatnot, or at least the current event, I guess, that is coming out that's kind of leading into this stuff. So I may actually end up checking out some more DC stuff at the end of this with all these new number 1s coming out. Do you have your Kliq?
I have a lot to choose from. I really do. This is one of those really hard weeks. Everything but Captain America: Symbol of Truth number 12 is actually a legitimate contender for Kliq of the week for me, believe it or not. And I'm trying to winnow down my choices. I had a really good time reading a lot of these books. So I do have a couple of, cream rising to the top contenders. So I could use another couple of beats to really make the decision. Do you have yours?
I think I might, but I'm just going to say it was definitely a decent week for books this week because including some of the stuff that Agent 78 mentioned that I didn't get a chance to. There was also Monica Rambeau, Photon, that I didn't get a chance to check out. I caught up on Tim Drake Robin last week, which I know they're going into another arc with this week, so I'm not sure. Star Wars Darth Vader Black, White, and Red was a kind of an interest of mine, but I didn't get around to that either. And like I said, the rest of the stuff is pretty much stuff that Agent 70's mentioned. But I think I am actually, and there's that Guardians of the Galaxy Bane of Blastar thing, which was like, what is that an old thing that nobody's thought about Blastar in I don't know how long. So so him being back in the book at this moment is an interesting cut. But yeah, I think I'm actually going to probably go with Dirt's Kliq of Star Trek number 7 because I did enjoy it a whole lot because I love me some DS9 and they touched on a whole lot of they touched on enough beats that was like, yep, I enjoyed it, everything about it.
Alrighty, so you know what I'm going to do? I am going to go with my gut here, folks, and go with Strange Academy Finals number 6. But I really enjoyed Killadelphia number 30. And I think those were the 2 books that I just really got a kick out of. That Killadelphia swerve cliffhanger ending really knocked my socks off. I was very much surprised. But I think Strange Academy Finals number 6 really told a solid kind of, this is the end, but not exactly the end type of story. And that was good. So I'm going to go with Strange Academy Finals number 6.
I feel like both of those books, I know you've definitely been, well, we've both been on Strange Academy, but you've definitely been on also Killadelphia the whole time.
Right.
So it's good to know that that's still, still piquing interest.
Definitely. And it was really, really good.
Yeah, every other time you talk about it, I kind of want to check it out, but it's not necessarily my cup of tea, but that's never really stopped me before.
Right. Because ultimately what it has is, a strong creative spirit behind it.
Yeah.
Right. because there is a story they're looking to tell. They are weaving in lots of different mythologies together with different genres even.
Right.
And when I say different genres, I mean different genres because of the cliffhanger that dropped at the end of this issue. So, I still recommend the book. I will be very interested to see where this next story arc goes, though.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's the whole mixing of things that you were just saying that it's kind of got me interested in it, because that stuff I do like. But that being said, that's another conversation for another time. Let's get into the news section, but first, an ad read.
All right, our first ad read is for Blue Apron. Blue Apron's meal delivery service has fresh ingredients and incredible recipes delivered weekly to your door. Skip the grocery store and make incredible meals at home with Blue Apron. Always shipped free right to your home. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can get $30 off your first Blue Apron order. To place your first order with $30 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Blue Apron link and sign up for your first order. Blue Apron through cspn.us. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
Shout out to my guy Captain Vice who popped up in the chat. Talking about this clopper in time. What's up, good sir? Hope you're doing.
How you doing? How you doing?
All right, cinematic news, folks. First off, I thought I had sent Agent 70 this after the show last week, but I don't think I did. So guess what, folks? Godzilla vs. Kong 2 teaser trailer has been released by Warner Brothers.
What?
Yep. And it apparently introduces who they're going up against, and why, I guess, this creature or what have you is formidable enough to go up against these two titans. So
I will have to watch this after the show.
I actually had not watched it because I was like, I thought I had sent it to you and I was going to watch it and I didn't get a chance to, but I saw it and I was like, oh shoot, I know that is a thing of interest. So
after the show,
indeed.
It's not the after party, but it's a teaser trailer watch party.
Indeed.
In the hotel lobby. I'm kidding. So all right. So I would pull a Doctor Who story up next. New Doctor Who images see the Doctor and Ruby step back into the 60s. With filming well underway on the next series of Doctor Who, the BBC have get out of the way, pop up. Released sensational spoiler images which show the Doctor and his companion Ruby in full swinging 60s fashion. All right.
Yeah,
I've seen. I was gonna say no information has been given about the episode. Okay.
Yeah, because it's still a little ways off from happening, but yeah, I've seen some stuff like interesting. I've seen some comments on this, and I can't help but giggle at some of my personal ones. But anyway, Disney settles with fired Marvel Studios VFX boss Victoria Alonso. So per deadline, Alonso and Disney reportedly reached a multi-million-dollar settlement in the days leading up to the official announcement on April 20th. Though details between the two parties, of course, remain confidential. Neither Disney nor Alonso's attorneys at it doesn't matter, offered any comment. It sounds like something out of Marvel Comics. The lawyers' names offered any comment on the matter. So yeah, not surprising, and we still don't know fully about what happened with all of that outside of some of the, the outside chatter that may or may not have led to the firing, or if there was something else going on. Well, actually, I take that back. We do, but we never brought that up because it was a weird side note. We kind of did. We kind of didn't, put it that way. Anyway, it's an interesting situation. She ain't sweating it apparently at this point, and neither are we. Next up.
Whoa! Naruto Kraven the Hunter trailer was released at Cinemacon. I ain't watching that. The hunt is over for the first look at Kraven the Hunter. Sony Pictures debuted the first trailer for the Spider-Man Universe spin-off during the studio's presentation at Cinemacon in Las Vegas this past Monday night, revealing Bullet Train, Aaron Taylor Johnson as the world's greatest hunter, Sergei Kravenov. Okay.
I mean, it's a little late to be calling him kick-ass.
Yeah, I guess.
So, or even Quicksilver at this point, but but yeah, and you can't watch it because it was at Cinemacon and I think it was behind closed doors. So a lot of that stuff at Cinemacon hasn't seen the light of day. Maybe one or two things definitely have,
leaked,
but
right. I'm
yeah.
assuming hasn't leaked.
Yeah. Because I have seen like at least one thing that did officially come out, but it wasn't anything of in our purview. Actually, I take it back. It might have been something, but I didn't. I totally forgot about to put that in the thing. But next week or whenever. Nope, I'll put it in right now. Oh well. Well. I guess we're going into the anime corner.
Okay.
But before we do, I'll just go ahead and put it out here, folks. New Transformers: Rise of the Beast trailer was released. That was all I was gonna say. We kind of talked about it before. This is just another one. So, but Pokemon Horizons takes over Japan with a special premiere promo. So Pokemon Horizons series has ushered in a new horizon for the Pokemon anime series, as it started off as a whole new anime without Ash Ketchum at the center of it all, but you still so apparently the premiere was such a big occasion that it took over the streets of Japan with a special promo counting down to the new anime's first episode. Pokemon finally said goodbye to Ash after over 26 years of losing and catching Pokemon himself. That's not what this article says. But yeah, I guess it is definitely a whole new world and a whole new attitude. So your people have feelings one way or the other. Next up.
Yeah. Martha Jacoby, the wife of American voice actor James Carter Cathcart, announced on Monday on Caring Bridge, an online journal for sharing health updates, that James Carter Cathcart will retire from the Pokemon anime due to an advanced form of throat cancer. Oy. Cathcart's retirement will be effective at the conclusion of the Pokemon anime's 25th season, titled Pokemon Ultimate Journeys, the series in the U.S. Cathcart voices several characters in the Pokemon anime, such as Professor Oak, his grandson Gary, and Team Rocket's James and Meowth. Cathcart has been involved in the Pokemon anime franchise since its first episode. He's also worked as a script adapter for many TV series and films in the franchise.
Yeah, like that's kind of a big one because like those who grew up with the show know Oak's voice and well, both of James's voices, but definitely the one. If it's I can't remember if he's one I'm thinking about or not. But yeah, I hope he can beat it, homie. That's
difficult.
Yeah,
that is difficult to hear.
Yeah. Okay, no, so let's see. So yeah, so some might know him as Weevil Underwood and Yu-Gi-Oh! And a bunch of other things. So I think this is the voice that I'm talking about. But yeah. Next up though, we get into manga corner with Naruto not Shippuden. Cliffhanger outs its newest Mangakyo Sharingan. And I know I butchered that, but you know what? Bear with me, folks. Apparently the update went live this week as Boruto's new chapter confirms a hunch about Sarada. Turns out that the girl wasn't impacted by Ada's omnipotence, so she has retained her true memories of the world. I won't go any further there, just in case people cry out spoilers if you're reading the manga and or haven't caught up yet. But it's Boruto chapter 80. Yeah. And apparently there's a new Sharingan. Hail surprise. Next up.
All right. Sisko and Worf unite to stop a crazed Klingon emperor in IDW Star Trek Day of Blood event. Guess what, folks? That's what this book, Star Trek, and the other books are going to cross over into.
But that's the thing. It
in
was
the IDW Star Trek universe.
Yep, that's what I was alluding to earlier. So I was like, yeah, I guess I should have known that the two books is split for some reason, and only in the reason why the other book got split off in the first place, they were going to come back to in a way. And here we go. Is there a date on that, by the way?
I closed the story
Yeah,
already.
man, I got it. Let's see. Grim to Strike for IDW's 5-issue Day of the Blood collection happens on May 6th for Free Comic Book Day. So
Right, so it'll be out soon after next week.
right. Hence that way why we got the countdown issue this week. They kind of hit that kind of fast, but again, you know, they do these things.
Oh, actually, wait, beginning in July with the Star Trek Day of Blood #1 one shot. So it's a few months away, but the actual prelude issue is the Free Comic Book Day IDW book.
Oh, right, here go. I skipped completely over that. Okay, so yeah, so it's going to run through, yeah, so basically it's going to be the main book, and then it's going to run through Star Trek and Star Trek. As
Right,
one
so
book.
it's going to be going it's going to cover the months of July, August, and September.
Yep. All right, Stranger Things and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles worlds collide in a new crossover event. Because at this point, they should be running out of folks for the Turtles to cross over with. Which, by the way, Last Ronin Lost Years came out this week and didn't get a chance to read that either. So, but anyway, on April 20th, 2023, IDW announced a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Stranger Things crossover. The comic book crossover event of the summer is coming, according to this quote. The publisher tweeted, "More details and the creators involved in the crossover will follow at a later date." Fans of both of those franchises, you got something. you got something coming. Next up.
All right, Fantagraphics rediscovers the wonders of Marvel's Atlas Comics. So, Marvel is excited to be teaming up with Fantagraphics to announce the publication of Fantagraphics Presents the Marvel Atlas Comics Library, a series of hardcover volumes reprinting comics from Marvel's 1950s Atlas Comics line in both facsimile editions of individual titles and compilations of a single artist. So, Fantagraphics will publish 5 volumes a year, with the first 2 volumes releasing in fall 2023. There's a lot of details here, but essentially, these collections will run the gamut from colorful, weird, delicious, pulpy stories found in their horror, suspense, and supernatural titles to their surprisingly gritty war titles, to westerns and lighter, funny animal comics and romance comics. So a lot of these were created by creators that are very familiar to you, such as Gene Colan, Russ Heath, Jack Kirby, of course, Carl Burgos, Stan Lee, Bill Everett, Joe Manili, and Steve Ditko, as well as Basil Wolverton and John Severin. So these are the, what was popular then, folks. This is pre-superhero stuff.
Indeed. Carnage 2099's bloody origin revealed in Spider-Man 2099 Dark Genesis. Shout out to our dude Tim for the story. And I think the next couple of that I think about it because I was grabbing stuff just willy-nilly. So Carnage is set to terrorize Marvel's 2099 future in an exclusive preview of the aforementioned Spider-Man 2099 Dark Genesis #1. The new limited series is a follow-up to Spider-Man 2099 Exodus, which with returning writer Steve Orlando, joined by artist Justin Mason. Says here, with Norman Osborn and the Black Card's elite defeated, a new threat rises in the form of an all-new Carnage. But where does this new Carnage come from? And who is this new host? Some of these questions will begin to be answered in this debut issue. So, where do we also see who Spider-Man 2099 is teaming up with? Or where we also see by Spider-Man 2099 teaming up with? If only there was some sort of movie that was coming up that could possibly have that character involved in it, that may have some reason why this character is getting some shine.
The things say,
Indeed. Next up.
Marvel reveals a new look at What If. So what if Marvel's What If stories were darker? This past Wednesday, Marvel Comics revealed the first look at What If Dark, a new line of one-shots featuring Spider-Man, Spider-Gwen, Venom, Loki, and the Thing of the Fantastic Four. With a lineup of rising stars and legendary creators, including Walt Simonson and Jerry Conway, the all-seeing Uatu the Watcher will peer into the dark side of the multiverse as What If Dark revisits iconic Marvel stories to ask the question, what if the events took a darker turn? So that's interesting. I'm happy to see Walt is involved with What If Dark Loki #1, written by Walt Simonson, on sale July 5th. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. So if I remember correctly, oh, your favorite. Oh no, he's just doing the cover. Never mind.
Oh, thank God. Thank God. So I just saw the cover. I was like, no!
But there's some as I'm scrolling through this for the folks on the video version, I'm seeing some potentially interesting stuff here. So we'll definitely be checking that out. But also I was just thinking, like, wait, I remember some What If stories being actually kind of dark anyway. Now granted, most of the time they lightened up at the end, had a bright side at the end, but I feel like there was originally some dark What If story. So I don't know, but hey, we'll let you know what we feel about him. Miles Morales stars on Ultimate Invasion cover by Sarah Pacelli. So apparently there's going to be a new miniseries coming up called it's a 4-issue miniseries called Ultimate Invasion. I think we talked about this previously, or at least yeah, we did, because this is the Hickman and Hitch thing. But Miles Morales is going to be one of the focal characters of the story, and its co-creator Sarah Pacelli will feature him on a cover in June's Ultimate Invasion #1. And apparently this has to do with the maker, who I guess is still around. I thought he was dead, but who's actually really dead outside of Uncle Ben and Ben Foster in the Marvel Universe. And even Uncle Ben's come back in a universe or two. But anyway, says here, the maker of Miles Morales are two of the few survivors of the Ultimate Universe, and the maker will take Miles along with him as he tries to achieve his plan to do whatever he plans to do, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, the maker has come back recently trying to basically rebuild the Ultimate Universe. So I guess this is kind of following up on that. And I guess I'm going to read this. But Marvel plans to release a special sneak peek at Ultimate Invasion in the Free Comic Book Day 2023 Spider-Man / Venom #1 on May 6th. So yeah, next week is also Free Comic Book Day, or will be free, or it'll be Free Comic Book Day after we record next week. But or probably when we record next week, depending on how things go with Movie Protocol.
Right.
So next up.
Alrighty, DC's Dawn of DC initiative is about to spotlight 3 beloved heroines. Wednesday, DC announced that next month's Power Girl special #1 will snowball into 2 new standalone titles this September: a Power Girl series and Fire and Ice Welcome to Smallville. Okay.
And part of me thinking, wait, were they actually in Smallville when that show was on? Probably was near the end, but I was like, why I'm putting way too much brain power for that.
I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Because I'm
okay.
thinking, like, why would they be in Smallville? But that's again, I'm sure there's something in here that talks about that.
Yeah, seriously. Any reference to Smallville for me?
No.
Right. Outside of the original, hey, that's where dude was brought up. But yeah. Last but not least, DC's, and I'm sure Tim will be glad to hear that if he hasn't already, which he probably has. DC's new Green Arrow series gets a second arc due to fan demand. So, mind you, the new Green Arrow series just came out this week. So, apparently, Joshua Williamson, the writer, posted to his Substack saying that Green Arrow has been upgraded from a 6-issue miniseries to a 12-issue run. So yeah, and in this article it mentions that Poison Ivy also had a similar thing happen where it was 6 issues and ended up being 12 issues. Oh, and later into an ongoing series. So okay, so I didn't know. Yeah, I guess I didn't. I did not know that Poison Ivy series was still going. Yeah, cool. So yeah, it looks like we found 6 more arrows in the quiver, and that is the announcement from Joshua Williamson. And you can also see here from his Twitter account. And he basically thanks everyone who spread the love and for the Green Arrow series and pre-ordered it. So I'm looking forward to, like, I hadn't had a chance to check out the series, but I'm curious about it. You know, out of the few things in the DC universe, I guess the Greens, Arrows, and Lanterns are ones that I would gravitate towards for whatever other reason. So I'll have to check this out later on. The first issue. And that, folks, is it for the news section. I believe Agent 70 said he had a little toy corner.
Yes, I am retrieving it right now. So I finally bit the bullet on something I had actually missed when it first came around, and I had just not gotten around to ordering it. Ultimately, I paid a little bit more than I wanted to, but these 30th anniversary Marvel Legends were not cheap to begin with. I finally got Captain America. Finally, with the ricochet. I will turn off my background and show it to everyone. Here we go. So this is it, and it is a lot of fun. I obviously have yet to open it, but it looks really good. I'm very much looking forward to opening this up and incorporating it into, a small display that I'll probably post on Instagram eventually, because unbelievably, that Batman display that's been on my bookshelf, in honor of the passing of Kevin Conroy, is still up there. I haven't gotten around to putting up a new one in ages. So this is, I think, the impetus for a new display.
Nice. You actually reminded me, looking at your shelf back behind you. You remind me of a Funko Pop that I need to pre-order, or I think I need. Did I pre-order already? Because apparently there's a George Clinton Parliament era Funko that and those other 2 from last week. Those other 2 Marvel Legends from last week that I forgot to pre-order.
Gotcha. I'll tell you, we're not advertising here, folks.
No.
But you know what? I am sorely tempted to pre-order, and I kind of kick myself for not ordering the Biggie statue that's Cartaccio did. If you follow Cartaccio on Instagram,
I've seen that one.
Yeah, he did one of Rakim recently that. I was definitely thinking, man, I am not a statue guy, never have been, but damn if that's not cool.
Right. Who wouldn't want a statue of the god Rock?
The god MC,
Right.
Like, if I was gonna get that one, like, why didn't I get the Biggie one? Like, what am I doing here? Like,
cool.
Seriously, like, I could hear Vince Lombardi. What the hell's going on here? Seriously. Like, I'm like, this is clear. This clearly falls into why on earth are you spending this much money on something that just kind of spins around,
True.
But you're supporting art, you're supporting artists, and it's a collectible piece. It's a tough call, folks.
Yeah, some very
No,
cool looking collectible pieces, mind you, but still, nonetheless.
yeah, and ultimately, this is going to be something that I'll probably see at New York Comic Con. I'll just be like, oh, damn it,
Yeah.
So, but yeah. That's it for our quickie diversion into Toy Corner.
Well, cool. Hit the last ad read then.
Our last ad read of the night. Folks, this is an hour-long episode. What the heck is going on out here? Thanks, Coach Lombardi. Help us keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us and click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, the CSPN is sent a payment by Amazon that helps us keep the CSPN, the Comic Book Chronicles podcast, that is, free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today.
All right, folks. So yeah, Benji says that sounds interesting. I'm not sure what he was referring to, but it was something about 10 minutes ago. So my apologies, guy. But some housekeeping news. Next week we will be on Movie Protocol. So we will not record on Thursday night. We will definitely let you folks know on social media, Twitter specifically, when we will record. And as I said earlier, it may possibly be on Saturday, which is Free Comic Book Day. Maybe or maybe not. Probably not. But it's a potential.
Right. It could be Friday, it could be Saturday.
Yeah.
Heck, sometimes it's been a Sunday. It all depends on our schedule.
Right. So if it does happen on Saturday, I don't know if I'm going to get around to the comic book store anyway. So, and I don't know how many. Usually, a lot of the digital stuff doesn't come until after the fact anyway. But I know they've actually. I know I've seen some stuff about. There's a lot of stuff on Previews World and whatnot about the digital versions,
right?
Or about the versions being out there. So,
right, I may end up going to a comic book store just like that. I have not pulled. I do not have a regular pull list anymore, so I'm not exactly supporting the physical comic book shops as often as I used to.
Right.
But Free Comic Book Day is an occasion to support your local comic book store. Don't just go in and pick up the free stuff, folks. Go in, buy some stuff. There are usually things on sale at a discount. They're looking to move merchandise on Free Comic Book Day because it's such a high traffic day. Mm-hmm. So go in there, support your local comic book retailer.
Yeah, I'm actually might be putting together a small list of books to go and grab that I hadn't had a chance to get before now. So if that happens, then I'll probably definitely will be going in there that day to represent, as they say.
Absolutely
going on. But that being said, folks, yeah, that's pretty much it. This is the Comic Book Chronicles. I am Ben Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram. Boy, May rolled around here fast as fuck.
Word life.
Jeez. Because I was telling Agent 70 before the show, I was like, dang, I might have said it during the show. I was like, dang, that kind of snuck up on me. But anyway.
Protocol, yeah, because, we didn't realize it, but yes, May the 4th is coming up.
Yes, May the 4th be with you. If I don't get to say it on that particular day. Which is ironic because we'll be saying something that has nothing to do with Star Wars.
Well, it has a very tangential relationship with Star Wars.
The stars, sure, but
it's indirect. It's indirect and very corporate.
Yeah, that what, and it would be very funny if they actually tie it into somehow. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, we're tying this into the other thing.
There's gonna be an Easter egg. I would laugh if there's an Easter egg on nowhere.
Yeah, right. You're right. Oh, speaking of, there was a trailer, and I'm sorry, I'm just just side into this whole thing. There was a behind the scenes trailer, or there was another trailer for the Star Trek. No, Star Wars Jedi Survivor video game that's coming out, and it had Mark Hamill and the dude that plays Cal Kestis. It was a pretty good spot. You got to go check it out if you get a chance. It's basically Mark Hamill talking about, playing like he's Luke, and they were on set, so you could tell they were very much on set. But he was like, yeah, so you got to do this and that and that. And then the turnabout where the dude was like, all right, he was showing Mark playing the game. It was like, now you got to do this and you got to do that. And then Mark was like, don't tell me. You don't have to tell me how to use the Force. It was pretty funny, but you had to watch the whole thing because it was a pretty amusing spot. Anyway, like I was saying, this is the Comic Book Chronicles. You can find us on the Coastal of the Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast browser place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal of the Podcast Network's SoundCloud page.
Make sure to hit like and subscribe and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews.
You can also find us recording every Thursday night, mostly on the YouTube channel of The Kliq Nation. That's youtube.com/TheKliqNation. You can also find us on twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles, which some of you did, so appreciate it.
Again, please hit like, subscribe, and hit the notification button so that you know when we are on live.
Oh shoot, you know what I forgot, folks? I just messed this all up. PC_Dirt on Twitter, Pop Culture Network on Twitter, PopCultureNetwork.com is all of the umbrellas like they're in. Tim DOGG98 on Twitter, the Osiris of this ish. You can find him at that on there. You can also find him at CB Cron on Twitter, which is the Comic Book Chronicles Twitter account. You can also find him at The Kliq Nation on Twitter and TheKliqNation.com. But you can definitely find him over at comicbook.com under the name Timothy Adams, writing his face off. I hate the movie Face Off, but I keep saying that. So what can I say? Face Off is no good. It's not a good John Woo movie, period. Anyway, fight your mama for that one. And that's it. We will be back sometime, possibly next week, after Movie Protocol, or we'll let you know. But stay tuned to our social medias to find out when we go live. And with that, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
Good evening, Would you believe it's Dr. Doom? What's on your